Sierra Lamar was 15 years old, known for making others laugh and bringing confidence to everyone around her. Her cheerful personality made her beloved by teachers and friends alike. Like and subscribe for respectful true crime coverage. Please share to remember Sierra. Her story begins not with tragedy, but with the vibrant life she lived. Sierra Mae Lamar was born on October 19, 1996, in Fremont, California, to parents who would later separate during her childhood. She was Marlene's second child, with an older sister named Danielle, who was 6 years her senior. From an early age, Sierra displayed a vibrant and engaging personality that left lasting impressions on those around her. Teachers and family members consistently described Sierra as fun-loving and cheerful, known throughout her school as the class clown, who possessed the rare gift of making others laugh without causing disruption or trouble. Her humor was infectious, bringing joy to classrooms and social gatherings alike. Beyond her comedic nature, Sierra demonstrated remarkable confidence that seemed to radiate outward, inspiring and instilling that same self-assurance in the people she encountered. Physical activity played a significant role in Sierra's life. She loved dancing and channeled this passion into her participation on the school's cheerleading team during her teenage years. The sport allowed her to combine her love of movement with her natural ability to energize and motivate others. Her athletic pursuits reflected her active lifestyle and social nature. Sierra maintained a special bond with her father, particularly evident in their shared love of cinema. They regularly attended movie theaters together, where Sierra's particular fondness for animated films created cherished father-daughter memories. These outings became treasured moments that strengthened their relationship despite the family's changing dynamics. The family structure underwent significant changes when Sierra's parents divorced during her childhood. This separation would eventually reshape the living arrangements for the entire family, creating circumstances that would later influence major decisions about Sierra's residence and daily life. Despite the challenges brought by her parents' divorce, Sierra adapted with characteristic resilience. Her outgoing personality helped her navigate the complexities of family changes while maintaining close relationships with both parents and her older sister. She remained optimistic and continued to bring laughter and confidence to those around her. The foundation of Sierra's character was firmly established during these formative years. Her ability to make friends easily, her dedication to physical activities, her close family bonds, and her naturally positive disposition would define her as she approached her teenage years. These qualities made her beloved by teachers, friends, and family members who recognized her special ability to brighten any room she entered. However, the family complications stemming from the divorce would soon lead to even more significant changes that would completely reshape Sierra's living situation and daily routine. Following the divorce, Marlene began dating someone new, which led to Sierra's relocation from Fremont to Morgan Hill, a city in the San Francisco Bay Area. This move represented a significant change for the teenager, who would leave behind familiar surroundings and established friendships to start fresh in a new community, alongside her mother and her mother's new partner. Sierra's father, Steve, remained in Fremont while her older sister, Danielle, attended college in Sacramento, effectively separating the family across different cities throughout Northern California. This geographic separation added complexity to maintaining close family relationships that had previously been easier to nurture when everyone lived nearby. The teenager displayed understandable reluctance about leaving behind her social circle and familiar environment in Fremont. Additionally, Sierra expressed reservations about her mother living with someone she wasn't married to, reflecting her desire for traditional family stability during an already uncertain period of adjustment and change. Despite these initial concerns and hesitations, Sierra's naturally outgoing personality proved advantageous in adapting to her new environment. She quickly joined the cheerleading team at her new school, demonstrating the same enthusiasm and dedication she had shown in Fremont. Her ability to make friends easily helped her establish new social connections, while maintaining relationships with her previous friends through regular visits back to Fremont. Sierra maintained a strong relationship with Marlene, characterized by open and frank communication about various aspects of her life. She also kept close contact with her older sister Danielle through regular phone conversations covering typical teenage topics including school experiences, friendships, and romantic interests. However, underlying tensions remained regarding both the move itself and her mother's new living arrangement. Sierra wasn't entirely satisfied with either situation, though she managed these feelings while adapting to her new circumstances in Morgan Hill. The true reason behind these complex family living arrangements involved a serious legal matter that had affected the family's options. Sierra's father, Steve, had received a criminal conviction in 2009 for child molestation, having pleaded guilty to sexually abusing 3 of Sierra's friends during a sleepover at their home. This conviction resulted in legal restrictions that prohibited him from living alone with a minor, fundamentally limiting the family's residential possibilities. This complicated family situation formed the backdrop of Sierra's life as she settled into Morgan Hill, unaware that tragic events would soon occur that would forever change everything. March 16, 2012 began as an ordinary morning in the Lamar household. Sierra followed her typical routine, waking up and preparing for another day of school. Before leaving the house, she took a selfie and uploaded it to her online diary, a platform where she regularly posted pictures, documenting her daily life and experiences through photographs. The morning farewell between Sierra and her mother Marlene followed their established routine. They shared their customary hug, accompanied by mutual expressions of, "I love you," a daily ritual that had become second nature to both mother and daughter. After this tender goodbye, Sierra headed toward the nearby bus stop in Morgan Hill, expecting to catch her regular transportation to school. Later that day, Marlene sent text messages to Sierra, with routine reminders about chores that needed completion after school. When Sierra failed to respond to these messages, Marlene initially assumed her daughter was occupied with schoolwork or other academic responsibilities, a reasonable explanation given Sierra's typical school schedule and activities. Marlene's concern began growing when she attempted to call Sierra at 3:45 p.m. After finishing her workday, the call went unanswered, which was somewhat unusual but not immediately alarming. However, the situation transformed dramatically at 6 p.m. when the school's automated attendance system sent an email notification revealing that Sierra had never arrived at school that day. This revelation immediately triggered panic as Marlene realized her daughter was missing. The realization that Sierra had disappeared somewhere between their home and the bus stop prompted Marlene to make the critical 911 call reporting Sierra as missing to local authorities. Police immediately launched an initial investigation, beginning with reviewing school bus surveillance footage from that morning. The footage confirmed their worst fears. Sierra had never boarded the bus, indicating that something had occurred during the short journey between her house and the bus stop, where she should have caught her regular transportation. Investigators also examined security footage from previous days, hoping to identify any patterns or potential threats. Unfortunately, this review provided no useful clues or insights into what might have happened to Sierra or who might have been involved in her disappearance. The Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office initially treated Sierra's case as a standard missing person report, as there was no immediate evidence suggesting foul play had occurred. However, as the hours passed and no trace of Sierra emerged, authorities began searching the immediate area around her home and the bus stop. Over the following days, evidence would emerge that would indicate something far more sinister had occurred to the missing teenager. The investigation into Sierra Lamar's disappearance took a dramatic turn when crucial evidence began surfacing in the days following her disappearance. On March 17th, just one day after Sierra vanished, her cell phone was discovered near a road intersection in Morgan Hill, approximately 2 miles from her family's home. The phone's location and condition suggested it had been tossed from a moving vehicle, indicating someone had deliberately discarded this important piece of evidence. The following day brought an even more significant discovery when Sierra's distinctive pink Juicy Couture bag was found abandoned by the roadside at a different intersection, located 2 intersections away from where the phone had been discovered. This bag contained several important items that provided investigators with crucial insights into what might have happened to the missing teenager. Inside Sierra's bag, investigators found neatly folded clothes including jeans and a shirt, all of Sierra's personal documents, and the $5 she had been given for lunch that morning. Remarkably, everything appeared completely untouched, suggesting that robbery was not the motive behind Sierra's disappearance. The careful folding of the clothing items seemed particularly significant to investigators examining the scene. These discoveries prompted authorities to officially reclassify Sierra's case on March 20th, changing her status from a missing person to missing under the category of abduction. This classification meant that someone had taken Sierra against her will, which significantly elevated the importance and urgency of the investigation while triggering additional resources and investigative protocols. The community response was immediate and overwhelming. Massive volunteer search efforts were organized to comb through the challenging terrain surrounding Sierra's home and bus stop area. The landscape included fields, hills, reservoirs, forests, ravines, and dense brush, making the search efforts extremely difficult and time-consuming for both professional investigators and civilian volunteers. During these extensive daily search operations, Approximately 150 items were discovered that investigators considered potentially relevant clues. Among these findings was a particularly disturbing discovery made by a volunteer searcher about 1 mile from Sierra's bus stop: a box labeled handcuffs and used condoms scattered in the area. However, investigators remained uncertain whether this discovery was actually related to Sierra's disappearance, as the location was known to be a popular hangout spot for local teenagers engaging in various activities. The area's reputation complicated the significance of these items for the ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, forensic specialists conducted thorough examinations of Sierra's recovered phone and her personal computer from home. Unfortunately, these technological investigations revealed nothing useful that could provide leads about her whereabouts or the circumstances surrounding her disappearance. The investigation expanded to include accounting for the whereabouts of all registered sex offenders in the local area. Shockingly, this process revealed that Sierra's own father was among those on the sex offender registry, due to his 2009 conviction for child molestation involving 3 of Sierra's friends during a sleepover incident. However, investigators quickly ruled out Sierra's father as a suspect in her disappearance after thorough examination of his activities and circumstances. DNA evidence would soon break the case wide open. On March 28, investigators achieved a major breakthrough when DNA evidence found on Sierra's jeans was successfully matched to Antolin Garcia Torres, a 21-year-old man who worked at a local supermarket in the Morgan Hill area. Torres lived in a trailer park approximately 8 miles from Sierra's home, sharing the residence with his pregnant girlfriend, their 18-month-old baby, and his mother. As investigators delved deeper into Torres's background, disturbing patterns of criminal behavior began emerging that painted a troubling picture of the suspect. Police discovered that Torres was connected to 3 separate incidents where women had reported to authorities that someone had attempted to abduct them from parking lots at the very supermarket where Torres was employed. These attempted kidnappings revealed a concerning pattern of predatory behavior. During one incident, a victim attempted to defend herself using a pocket knife, but the attacker managed to disarm her and held the blade to her throat before the attack was interrupted. Each of these women reported that their kidnapping attempts were ultimately thwarted, either by their screams attracting attention or by the presence of nearby people who intervened or scared off the attacker. Crucially, none of these previous victims had been able to identify Torres as their attacker during the initial investigations. However, physical evidence would later connect him to these crimes. During one of the attempted abductions, Torres dropped a stun gun while fleeing the scene. When forensic specialists analyzed this weapon, they discovered Torres's fingerprint on the battery, providing a direct link between him and the attempted kidnapping. Torres's criminal history included additional concerning charges, including felony assault and a charge involving sexual relations with a minor in 2010. This pattern of escalating criminal behavior suggested a dangerous individual capable of increasingly serious crimes against women and minors. As suspicion mounted around Torres, police placed him under continuous 24-hour surveillance while building their case. During this surveillance period, investigators reviewed security footage from Torres's trailer park and made a crucial discovery. His red Volkswagen Jetta was captured leaving the area just 15 minutes before Sierra left her home to walk to the bus stop on the morning of March 16. Additional surveillance footage placed the same red Volkswagen Jetta in the immediate area where Sierra was last seen on the morning of her disappearance. This timing and location evidence strongly suggested Torres had been in the right place at the right time to encounter Sierra during her walk to the bus stop. Police brought Torres in for interrogation, during which he claimed he had gone fishing alone after leaving his home on the day of Sierra's disappearance. Significantly, Torres could provide no witnesses or additional evidence to corroborate this fishing story, making his alibi highly questionable. Torres made a critical mistake during the police interrogation when officers asked how his DNA could have been found on Sierra's belongings. He explained that he often pleasured himself in his car and used tissues to clean up afterward, speculating that he might have thrown one of these tissues out his car window, which could have ended up in Sierra's bag. This response was particularly damaging because police had not disclosed what type of biological sample had been used to extract the DNA evidence. By assuming the DNA was related to something sexual in nature, Torres had essentially incriminated himself without realizing the significance of his admission. Several witnesses had reported seeing a vehicle matching Torres's red Volkswagen near the bus stop when Sierra disappeared, further building the circumstantial case against him. On April 7th, authorities obtained a crucial search warrant for Torres's red Volkswagen Jetta, leading to discoveries that would seal his fate in Sierra's disappearance case. During the meticulous search of his vehicle, investigators discovered one of Sierra's hairs entangled in a rope located in the trunk of the car. Additionally, Sierra's fingerprints were found on the rear door handle, providing direct physical evidence linking her to Torres's vehicle. Simultaneously, police expanded their search efforts by deploying cadaver dogs throughout the Morgan Hill area, hoping these specially trained animals might locate Sierra's remains or other evidence that could strengthen the case against Torres and provide closure for her family. Following these damning discoveries in his vehicle, and after conducting 2 months of intensive surveillance, police arrested Antolin Garcia Torres on May 21, 2012, formally charging him with the abduction and suspected murder of Sierra Lamar. The arrest came exactly 2 months and 5 days after Sierra's disappearance. Sierra's case quickly gained national attention due to the mysterious circumstances surrounding her disappearance and the extensive community search efforts. The story was featured on an episode of America's Most Wanted, bringing Sierra's case to viewers across the country and highlighting the ongoing investigation. The community of Morgan Hill rallied around Sierra's family during this difficult period. On March 16, 2013, exactly 1 year after Sierra's disappearance, the community organized a touching tribute to commemorate the anniversary. Residents gathered to release helium balloons in Sierra's favorite colors, each balloon tied with ribbons and notes containing messages of hope and love from community members who had been touched by her story. Nearly a year after his arrest, on February 11, 2014, Torres was formally charged in court proceedings. When asked to enter his plea, Torres pleaded not guilty to all charges related to Sierra's abduction and suspected murder, setting the stage for what would become a lengthy legal battle. The family faced an agonizing decision on March 14, 2015, exactly 3 years after Sierra's disappearance. After maintaining hope for so long, they officially announced the end of their organized search efforts. For years, dedicated volunteers had conducted weekly searches throughout the Morgan Hill area, hoping to recover Sierra's body or any remains that might provide closure. This search effort had become the longest ongoing search of its kind in the United States at that time. The case faced multiple delays in reaching trial. Originally scheduled to begin on April 25, 2016, the proceedings were postponed several times due to various legal motions and procedural issues. The trial would not actually commence until January 30, 2017, nearly 5 years after Sierra's disappearance. This prolonged period created additional emotional anguish for Sierra's family, who remained without closure while hoping justice would eventually be served. They faced the difficult challenge of continuing their lives while the case slowly moved through the legal system. The upcoming trial would present significant challenges for prosecutors, who would need to prove murder without a body, murder weapon, or eyewitness testimony. The long-awaited trial of Antolin Garcia Torres began on January 30, 2017, nearly 5 years after Sierra Lamar's disappearance. The proceedings would span 13 weeks, during which the prosecution and defense would present dramatically different theories about what happened to the missing teenager on March 16, 2012. During opening statements, the prosecution warned the jury that the defense might argue Sierra had voluntarily run away from home, attempting to explain her disappearance through family dysfunction rather than criminal activity. However, prosecutors faced the significant challenge of proving murder without a body, murder weapon, or key witness testimony. Their case would rely heavily on forensic evidence, DNA samples, and circumstantial evidence to convince jurors of Torres's guilt. The prosecution presented their theory that Sierra had been bound, dragged, and placed in the trunk of Torres's red Volkswagen Jetta. Supporting this theory was evidence including a police officer's notation of a strong odor of urine detected on Sierra's jeans, which were discovered less than 4 miles from her bus stop. This physical evidence suggested Sierra had experienced extreme fear or physical trauma. The discovery of Sierra's clothing, including underwear, indicated that her lifeless body was likely unclothed when disposed of. The fact that the recovered clothing was dirty with soil particles supported the prosecution's theory that Sierra had been dragged across the ground at some point during her ordeal. Sierra's mother, Marlene, took the stand to provide crucial testimony about her relationship with her daughter. She recalled their final morning together on March 16th, describing their daily ritual of exchanging a kiss and saying "I love you" before parting. Marlene confirmed that all the clothing and personal items found by investigators belonged to Sierra, establishing the chain of evidence. Torres's ex-girlfriend appeared as a witness during a 90-minute testimony session, though she claimed to have difficulty remembering specific details about the morning Sierra disappeared. During cross-examination, her inconsistent accounts regarding Torres's whereabouts over the years became apparent to jurors. She admitted to fabricating part of her grand jury testimony about Torres's particular method of folding pants, which was significant because it related to how Sierra's pants were discovered neatly folded in her backpack. The prosecution presented evidence of Torres's suspicious purchases following Sierra's disappearance, including supermarket records showing he bought a turkey baster and bleach. Prosecutors argued these items could be used to eliminate DNA evidence following a sexual assault, suggesting Torres was taking steps to cover up his crimes. The defense strategy focused on the absence of Sierra's body and questioned the integrity of the physical evidence. Defense attorneys argued that Sierra's hair found in Torres's car wasn't visible in initial crime scene photographs, but appeared in later documentation, suggesting potential contamination or evidence tampering. Defense lawyers suggested that the driver of a brown car spotted in the area might be the real perpetrator and argued that Sierra had run away voluntarily because she lived in a broken home and was struggling academically. They painted a picture of a troubled teenager who might choose to disappear rather than face her problems. Testimony from Sierra's friends provided mixed perspectives. Some confirmed her displeasure with the move to Morgan Hill and her family situation, while others expressed serious doubt that she would have run away voluntarily, describing her as responsible and connected to her family despite any difficulties. The defense challenged the prosecution's DNA evidence, arguing that proper scientific protocols hadn't been followed during collection and analysis. They suggested that Sierra's bag had been contaminated, potentially invalidating the crucial genetic evidence linking Torres to the crime. Torres's sister testified about their troubled childhood, describing their father's alcoholism, domestic violence, and her own experience of sexual abuse. This testimony was intended to provide context for Torres's behavior and potentially mitigate his culpability. On May 9, 2017, after deliberating for approximately 1.5 days, the jury reached their verdict. They found Antolin Garcia Torres guilty of kidnapping and murder of Sierra Lamar, as well as 3 counts of attempted kidnapping related to the 2009 incidents at the supermarket where he worked. Following the guilty verdict, the judge sentenced Antolin Garcia Torres to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring he would never again have the opportunity to harm another person. Additionally, the court required Torres to register as a sex offender, as prosecutors had successfully argued that sexual gratification was one of his primary motives for kidnapping and killing Sierra Lamar. Despite his conviction, Torres has maintained his innocence throughout the legal proceedings and beyond. In December 2020, a journalist sent Torres a handwritten letter containing 4 specific questions about Sierra's case. Of these 4 inquiries, Torres chose to respond to only 1 question regarding his guilt or innocence, reiterating his position that he was not responsible for Sierra's disappearance and alleged murder. Torres's defense attorney attempted to secure a new trial in November 2017, arguing that the presiding judge should have recused herself due to potential bias that could have affected the fairness of the proceedings. However, this petition was denied by a San Francisco judge, effectively ending Torres's immediate legal options for overturning his conviction. The impact on Sierra's family has been profound and lasting. They have never held a funeral service for Sierra, believing that without a body to bury, such a ceremony would feel meaningless and incomplete. This decision reflects their continued hope that someday Sierra's remains might be recovered, allowing them to properly lay her to rest. In 2022, on the 10th anniversary of Sierra's disappearance, a private gathering was held for volunteers and Sierra's family members to remember the teenager and reflect on the decade that had passed since her tragic disappearance. This intimate memorial allowed those closest to the case to honor Sierra's memory away from public attention. Despite the difficult circumstances surrounding Sierra's case and their deep desire to recover her remains for closure, Sierra's family has chosen to focus on remembering her fondly. They continue to cherish the happy times they spent together, keeping alive the memory of Sierra's infectious laughter, confident spirit, and ability to bring joy to others. Sierra's legacy within the Morgan Hill community remains strong. She became known as everyone's daughter, representing not just her own family's loss, but the community's collective grief over a promising young life cut tragically short. Her case highlighted both the dangers that young people can face and the determination of communities to seek justice when tragedy strikes. While Torres was ultimately convicted and sentenced, the questions surrounding Sierra's final moments and the location of her remains continue to haunt her family and the community. The case represents both justice served through the legal system and closure denied through the absence of Sierra's body, creating a bittersweet ending that reflects the complex reality of many criminal cases where accountability is achieved, but healing remains incomplete.